Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about the Analogue 3D. Now, the Analogue 3D was just unveiled by Analogue, and pre-orders just went up, and a lot of people were complimenting the whole pre-order process, saying it was very fluid. Now, interestingly here, pre-orders are still up. I think they sold out of the white model, but the black model is still available, and it's about $250. These are not cheap. But it also appears that people are already trying to scalp this thing. Now, I'm not going to lie here, these prices are a little bit ridiculous, but apparently up on eBay, people are trying to get away with selling this device for $200 more than it's being listed for $450. Well, this person went to $400. What a deal. Anyways, it's absolutely ridiculous, not surprised at all, and I'm assuming once the Analogue 3D sells out, these will start to pick up in popularity. Let me know your thoughts about scalpers trying to scalp something that's readily available in the comments below. Next up, we're talking about the upcoming Snapdragon 8 Elite, which has been garnering quite a bit of attention online. A lot of detail has leaked, and now Qualcomm has had an official presentation about the entire chip. We talked about the Antutu scores for this chip yesterday, and taking a look here at their infographic, and well, I've got high hopes for this chip. I mean, they say here for power savings, 44% CPU, 40% GPU, and that is compared against the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, not just some random chip on the market. Now, in yesterday's video talking about the Antutu performance versus the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, we noticed about a 33% improvement. And they're saying here there's a 40% gaming improvement and a 35% ray tracing improvement versus the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. So if you wanted to learn even more about this chip and about Snapdragon in general, you may want to check out the Snapdragon Summit 2024. They just had their day one keynote live stream, and it's over a couple of hours in length. There's a lot of very interesting information in there, and from my understanding, there's going to be more days of this stuff. And speaking about interesting stuff, next up here, we're talking about a fan-made Metal Slug game where the guns are replaced with lightsabers. This one is called Metal Slug Counter, and I will say this one looks super interesting and super fun. Metal Slug Counter was released on September 19th, so the game's about a month old right now. And let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. Would you be interested in playing a game like this where they have lightsabers instead of guns? Or would you prefer the original Metal Slug? Next up, we're talking about Nintendo. Now, we talked about this game yesterday when copies of it started showing up in the wild, and I advised people if you wanted to avoid spoilers, probably avoid gameplay videos of this on YouTube. Anyways, people have dug into the game, and interestingly here, and this is more of just a fun fact, it's co-developed by Acquire, who's behind Octopath Traveler, Tenchu, and Wave the Samurai. Now, I could be wrong here, but I think this game is going to be popular, just not as popular as stuff like Super Mario Wonder or Super Mario Odyssey. But at the same time here, I think this is a pleasant surprise to see Acquire being co-developers of it. And speaking about Nintendo, next up here, we're talking about the Game Freak leaks, or the Freak leaks, or the Poke leaks, or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, there is a Reddit here called Reddit Poke Leaks, and there's a whole lot of very interesting information on it. For example, there was apparently a Pokemon game that was canceled called Pokemon Rodeo. And you guessed it, you ride Pokemon. Some of the other stuff that surfaced is that Pokemon Legends Arceus was originally supposed to have voice acting, which sounds pretty cool. And there was a leaked beta roster for Pokken Tournament, and interestingly here, it does feature fan art. Now, I know it's kind of hard to see because it's a lower resolution image, but take a look at that thumbnail for Galad. And then take a look at this fan art. It's the exact same head. There is no difference. So some people are saying, is this fake because it's using fan art? It's not, I don't think so. I think instead Nintendo is using fan art as placeholders. Now, I'm not going to lie here. I'm a little bit disappointed to see some of those Pokemon cut from the final roster, but at the same time, there's usually a difference between the initial concept and the final product. I am surprised that they're using fan art as placeholders. And I think a lot of people may not realize how much Nintendo is aware of things on the internet as opposed to not. So let me know your thoughts about the entire leak in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts about Pokken Tournament and the original roster, the potential roster, in the comments below. Do you like the looks of this, or did you prefer the final game? And speaking about games, you know who you're not going to see a game from? Team Blue. It's been reported that Netflix has shut this game studio down. They were a AAA game studio and had senior people from Halo, God of War, and Overwatch. Unfortunately, I don't know the full details of the shutdown, the reasoning behind it, or when it actually happened. It seems Netflix has kept this one under wraps, well, at least until now. Next up, we're talking about Vampire Survivors, and this hugely popular game that was inspired by Castlevania is now collaborating with it. They have just announced the Vampire Survivors Ode to Castlevania. It is brand new DLC. It's not free. It's about $4 USD, which is not very expensive overall considering everything that this DLC entails. So taking a look over on Steam, we can see the specifics for this DLC. It's got 20 plus new characters, 40 plus new weapons, special weapon selectors, a huge stage, as well as 30 plus new music tracks. And the character selections here seem pretty amazing. I am very excited about this DLC, and let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. Is $4 a good price for this? Ode to Castlevania is set to release on October 31st, and if you haven't picked up Vampire Survivors yet, it's currently on sale for 25% off. You can pick up pretty much everything for a very reasonable price. Next up, we're talking about the Nintendo Switch Online playtest and data leaks, and it appears that data miners have gotten their hands all over this unannounced title and are releasing quite a bit of information about it on the internet. So this game will feature mini-games, mechs, a character creator, and a PvP focus, and it appears that the soundtrack has already been leaked. It's also being speculated that Nintendo EPD Production No. 4 is behind it, and they're behind such games as Miitopia, 1-2 Switch, Ring Fit Adventure, Big Brain Academy, Everybody 1-2 Switch, Nintendo World Championships, Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo, and even more. Next up, we're quickly talking about the next generation of ASUS ROG phones, which is the ROG Phone 9. Now this one is supposed to be powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite, and the launch date for this one is November 19th. Unfortunately, I don't know storage sizes, RAM specs, or even more about this phone, but I'm assuming we're going to know more shortly. I'm very curious to see what the ROG Phone 9 offers and how performance is going to compare with the Galaxy S24 and the upcoming Galaxy S25, and also the price point in comparison as well. Let me know your thoughts about the ROG Phone 9 in the comments below. Next up here, I've got an update for you about a story we talked about the other day, and that was the Breath of the Wild Demake for the Nintendo DS. And it turns out part of that mystery on who created it and why has been solved. So Ermelbur, I think that's how you say it, says, seems like an old ROM of a project I was working on with friends leaked online. It's so funny seeing people speculate about this as some sort of obscure piece of media by a mysterious Chinese dev, while it's simply just something we made several years ago. Ermelbur then says a few news outlets have talked about my tweet and credited me as the main character. However, my involvement in this was minor compared to my friend who made the entire terrain engine. I worked on Link's model animations and Link's state machine code. The terrain engine is handcrafted and written in pure ARM assembly for best performance. It pulls out many tricks out of the hat you can't even imagine. I don't like that I've been credited like this. So hopefully me reading this verbatim has done this story a bit of justice. And as for whether or not this is going to be released, I think someone will probably just take it off their flash cart and post it online, but the developer of this one, or one of the developers on this one, says it was never meant to be public and it's highly unfinished and glitchy. Next up, we're talking about Mario Kart on the 3DS and CTGP 7, which stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Custom Tracks Grand Prix 7, depending on how you want to interpret that, has just released brand new functionality, proximity chat. So CTGP 7 is a pretty expansive mod for Mario Kart 7, and the proximity chat functionality allows all players running the proximity chat client to hear each other in a race while playing online. Voices will be adjusted depending on how far you are, as well as a few other surprises. And they say here this application runs on a Windows or Linux computer and is available on both the Nintendo 3DS and Citra versions of CTGP 7. And speaking about mods, next up we're talking about Skyrim, and there's a brand new mod over on Nexus Mods that's a little bit ridiculous but also awesome. It's called Skyrim World of Tanks. If you wanted to see the mod in action, you should check out some YouTube videos here. I'll drop one in the description below. This mod is ridiculous, but also awesome. And I don't want to say it's better than the Macho Man Randy Savage Dragon mod, but at the same time here, I mean, this one is pretty expansive. And yeah, it seems to kind of work. I mean, there are some bugs and glitches, but at the same time here, I mean, you could have a lot of fun with this driving a frickin' tank around Skyrim. Some people are commenting, I can't believe this is insane. Imagine how would be the Civil War quest line. And let's see Alduin take on 76 millimeters of American freedom. In my opinion, and let me know your thoughts about this one, all you've got to do is pair this mod with CCR's Fortunate Son or Steve Earle's Copperhead Road, and well, you've got an experience. And speaking about experiences, next up we're talking about Xenia Manager, which is designed to make the whole experience with Xenia, an Xbox 360 emulator, a lot better. And Xenia just got a brand new update on the upcoming redesigned version of it. So at the time of filming, version 2.0.0-3 experimental pre-release is the latest update here. There's a few more things. They've added in the ability to add unknown games, added automatic adding of games, and also a window for viewing installed DLC updates can now open a folder. It is worth pointing out that this is an experimental release, so things may not work as anticipated, things may be broken, and you should probably stick with the previous version, which I think is version 1.15, before this one is finished. And speaking about stuff posted to GitHub, next up we're talking about Famidash, which is a demake of Geometry Dash for the NES. And Famidash just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, the latest update here is version 1.0.3. The two later updates after this one fix some minor bugs. So anyways, this update has a whole bunch of gameplay tweaks, a whole bunch of bug fixes, and even more. For example here, for the ship and mini ship, the gravity has been lowered, so it's a lighter ship. They've also got slope improvements, there's progress bars added to level select, and a whole bunch more, and this may be an update worth checking out if you're into Famidash. Next up, we're talking about a very interesting piece of history that was posted to YouTube. It's part of the lawsuit exhibit between Capcom versus Data East. Capcom sued Data East for Fighter's history, saying it was infringing copyrights on Street Fighter. Capcom did lose the lawsuit, but at the same time here, this video goes into some very interesting explanations. Now, overall, there are a lot of similarities between the game. I'm not going to deny that. And I also think there are some similarities between Capcom's games and some other ideas they may have borrowed, but I'm not going to get into that either. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below and whether or not Capcom should have won that lawsuit. I think that would have really changed things moving forward. And speaking about Street Fighter, last up here we're talking about Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo for the C64. Now, we talked about this one in the past, and someone is making a demake or a port of this game over on the C64, and in my opinion, it looks fantastic. It reminds me a lot of Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dreams for the Game Boy Color, at least graphically. Getting this on the C64, in my opinion, is very impressive, and there's a brand new demo for this available. I do recommend checking out that YouTube video just to watch the gameplay, but if you wanted to learn more about the specifics of the demo, all the information is in the description of that video. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.